Welcome to West Film. We bring you the best movie recaps, reviews, ending explained videos, and hidden details from your favorite films. If you love great movies, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Now grab some popcorn, and let's jump into today's movie. Every passing minute feels longer than the last. Among the government officials reviewing the crisis are leaders responsible for handling high-risk military operations, and they recognize that ordinary law enforcement responses may not be enough. The terrorists appear organized, heavily armed, and prepared for confrontation. If negotiations fail or circumstances deteriorate further, a specialized response may become necessary. Discussions begin about elite military units trained specifically for hostage rescue and counter-terrorism missions, of forces with skills and capabilities unavailable to conventional organizations. Although no final decisions have been made, preparations quietly begin. Experienced professionals understand the importance of readiness when lives are at stake. Waiting until the last moment is not an option. Far from the political discussions and military planning, the hostages continue enduring an increasingly difficult situation. Fatigue begins affecting many passengers as the uncertainty stretches on, and food, water, and basic comfort become secondary concerns compared to survival. Parents focus on protecting their children emotionally, while crew members try to maintain professionalism despite the circumstances. Acts of kindness emerge even in the midst of fear as strangers support one another, share encouragement, and help those struggling most. These moments of humanity provide small sources of strength during an otherwise terrifying experience, and the determination of ordinary people becomes evident. The terrorists eventually force a change in the aircraft's route, creating additional complications for the authorities managing the crisis. International coordination becomes necessary as multiple governments get involved, and diplomatic discussions unfold alongside military planning and intelligence gathering. Every development introduces new variables. Officials must weigh political consequences, operational challenges, and humanitarian concerns all at once, and the complexity of the situation grows rapidly. What began as a hijacking has evolved into a major international emergency, drawing attention from around the world, and the pressure on decision-makers becomes immense. At a secure military facility, members of an elite counter-terrorism unit receive word of the unfolding crisis. These highly trained professionals specialize in missions considered too dangerous for conventional forces, and their training emphasizes precision, discipline, and adaptability under extreme pressure. Among them are experienced operators who have spent years preparing for situations exactly like this one. Although they don't yet know whether they'll be deployed, they begin reviewing available intelligence and preparing their equipment. Every member understands the seriousness of the situation, and if called into action, innocent lives will depend on their performance. As preparations continue, military planners gather as much information as possible about the terrorists, the aircraft, and the hostages. Intelligence analysts work around the clock, searching for details that could shape future decisions. Every piece of information matters. Understanding the hijackers' motivations, capabilities, and objectives may prove critical later. Meanwhile, the elite rescue unit keeps training and rehearsing potential scenarios, their readiness reflecting years of preparation for unpredictable crises. While the world watches the unfolding drama with concern, these professionals quietly prepare for the possibility of direct intervention. Inside the aircraft, conditions continue to deteriorate as the crisis drags on. The emotional toll becomes increasingly visible among the passengers, and fear, exhaustion, and uncertainty affect everyone differently. Yet despite these hardships, many of the hostages refuse to lose hope. They believe that somewhere beyond the aircraft, people are working to bring them home safely, and that belief helps them endure circumstances that might otherwise seem unbearable. Their resilience becomes a powerful reminder of the human capacity to endure adversity even in moments of great fear. hope remains alive. As this stage concludes, the hijacked aircraft remains under terrorist control while governments struggle to determine the best course of action. Innocent lives hang in the balance, international tensions continue rising, and an elite military force quietly prepares for the possibility of a dangerous rescue mission. The stage has been set for a confrontation that will test the courage of both hostages and rescuers. What began as an ordinary flight has become a global crisis, and the people trapped at its center have no idea how dramatic the coming events will become. The crisis continues escalating as the hijacked aircraft remains under the control of heavily armed terrorists. Hours have passed since the passengers were taken hostage, and the emotional strain grows harder to endure. Fear and uncertainty dominate the atmosphere inside the cabin. Many passengers stay silent, conserving their energy and trying to stay calm, while others quietly pray or look to those around them for reassurance. The hijackers maintain strict control, moving through the aircraft and monitoring every activity. Their confidence appears unshaken, and they continue enforcing obedience through threats and intimidation. Everyone on board understands that their fate remains uncertain. Government officials around the world continue monitoring the situation closely. Intelligence reports arrive from multiple sources as authorities try to build a complete picture of the crisis, and the terrorists' identities, affiliations, and objectives become subjects of intense investigation. Analysts work around the clock, comparing information and searching for patterns, so every new detail helps sharpen the picture of the organization responsible for the hijacking. Despite these efforts, many important questions remain unanswered, and the uncertainty complicates decision-making while increasing the pressure on political leaders, who know that one wrong move could put innocent lives at even greater risk. Inside military command centers, planning intensifies. Experienced officers review possible scenarios and weigh their response options. Maps, intelligence reports, and operational plans cover the conference tables as specialists debate the best course of action. Some advocate patience and negotiation, while others emphasize the need for decisive intervention. Every strategy carries risks, and the challenge lies in finding a solution that maximizes the chances of saving the hostages while minimizing potential casualties. The complexity of the situation becomes increasingly clear as success will require accurate intelligence, careful planning, and flawless execution. The elite counter-terrorism team continues preparing for deployment. Members inspect their equipment, review mission procedures, and take part in detailed briefings. These professionals have trained extensively for hostage rescue operations and understand the demands such missions place on everyone involved. Precision and discipline are essential, since a single mistake could cost lives. Although they remain calm and professional, the seriousness of the situation is evident. Many have taken part in dangerous missions before, yet they recognize that every operation presents unique challenges, and the uncertainty surrounding the hostages adds even more pressure. Failure is not an acceptable option. Meanwhile, the terrorists issue new demands through various communication channels. Their statements draw international attention and stir widespread concern, and news organizations around the world provide continuous coverage of the crisis. Families of the passengers anxiously await updates while governments work behind the scenes to manage the situation. The terrorists understand the power of publicity and try to use global attention to strengthen their position. Their actions turn the hijacking into more than a transportation emergency. It becomes a major geopolitical event with consequences reaching far beyond the aircraft itself. The hostages continue showing remarkable resilience despite the difficult circumstances. Crew members do their best to maintain order and offer support wherever they can, and passengers who have never met before begin helping one another emotionally. Small acts of kindness become extremely important. A comforting word, a reassuring gesture, or a shared moment of encouragement can make a real difference during times of extreme stress. These human connections help many people hold on to hope. Fear remains present, but it doesn't fully overcome their determination to survive, and their courage becomes one of the most inspiring aspects of the ordeal. As negotiations continue, the aircraft is redirected to another location under the control of individuals willing to cooperate with the terrorists. The change creates additional challenges for the authorities trying to resolve the crisis, and every movement of the aircraft affects operational planning and shifts the available options. Intelligence agencies race to gather information about the new environment to understanding local geography, security conditions, and political factors becomes increasingly important. The situation grows more complicated with each development, and decision-makers must adapt quickly to changing circumstances while keeping the safety of the hostages their top priority. The terrorists remain highly organized and disciplined, and their leadership carefully coordinates activities while maintaining strict control over their subordinates. They understand that confusion or disagreement within their ranks could weaken their position, and for now their operation appears effective. However, intelligence analysts notice signs suggesting that not every member of the organization has the same level of commitment or experience, observations that may prove valuable later. Even well-planned operations often contain hidden weaknesses, and identifying those weaknesses can create opportunities that would otherwise stay invisible. Military planners pay close attention to every detail. As more information becomes available, authorities begin developing increasingly detailed contingency plans. Specialized teams study aircraft layouts, hostage locations, and possible entry points, and simulated scenarios are run repeatedly to test assumptions and refine strategies. Every aspect of a potential rescue mission gets careful examination. The objective is simple but extraordinarily difficult: save as many lives as possible while neutralizing the threat. Achieving that goal requires a level of preparation most people never witness, and the sheer amount of planning involved reflects the seriousness of the challenge ahead. Among the members of the elite rescue unit are experienced operators who understand the psychological dimensions of hostage situations. They know that successful missions depend not only on physical skill but also on understanding human behavior. Terrorists, hostages, and rescuers all respond differently under pressure, and predicting those responses can shape critical decisions. As briefings continue, operators study the available intelligence and discuss possible outcomes. Their professionalism remains impressive despite the uncertainty. They stay focused on the mission rather than the risks, and that discipline is one reason they've been chosen for responsibilities of this magnitude. The passage of time begins to affect everyone involved. Hostages grow more exhausted, negotiators face mounting pressure, and military personnel continue preparing without knowing whether they'll be deployed. Families of the passengers struggle with anxiety and fear, and the prolonged nature of the crisis creates emotional strain that extends far beyond the aircraft itself. Entire governments become invested in the outcome, and every update is analyzed carefully, with each development shaping future decisions. The weight of responsibility carried by those managing the situation becomes enormous. Eventually, intelligence gathered from multiple sources reveals information that significantly shapes the planning effort. Analysts identify important details about the terrorists' capabilities, intentions, and vulnerabilities, and although many uncertainties remain, the overall picture grows clearer. Military leaders begin to believe that a direct response may eventually become unavoidable, and that realization changes the tone of discussions within the command centers. Preparation shifts from theoretical planning toward practical readiness. Equipment is organized, transportation assets are prepared, and personnel receive updated instructions. The possibility of action now feels much more real. At the same time, conditions aboard the aircraft continue to deteriorate. Fatigue, stress, and confinement take a visible toll on the passengers, yet despite everything they've endured, many refuse to give up hope. Their determination inspires those around them, and the human spirit proves remarkably resilient even under extreme pressure. Every hour survived becomes a small victory. The hostages understand that somewhere beyond the walls of the aircraft, people are working tirelessly to end the crisis, and that belief helps them endure circumstances that might otherwise seem impossible. Far away from the passengers, the elite rescue force receives new orders. The mission remains uncertain, but the possibility of deployment grows increasingly likely, and the operators complete their final preparations, standing ready for immediate action if required. Years of training have prepared them for moments exactly like this, and they understand the risks ahead and accept them without hesitation. Their focus stays fixed on one objective: protecting innocent lives. Whatever challenges await, they're prepared to face them. The crisis now stands at a critical crossroads. Negotiations continue, intelligence gathering remains active, and military planners finalize increasingly detailed options. Every decision made in the coming hours may shape the fate of dozens of innocent people. The terrorists still hold control of the hostages, but powerful forces are beginning to mobilize against them. The struggle is far from over, and events are moving steadily toward a confrontation that could change everything. As the hostage crisis continues, pressure mounts on everyone involved. Government leaders face difficult choices, military planners refine their strategies, and families of the passengers desperately wait for good news. Around the world, media coverage intensifies as people follow every development. The hijacked aircraft remains at the center of international attention, symbolizing both the vulnerability of innocent civilians and the determination of those working to save them. Every passing hour raises the urgency of the situation, and while negotiations remain active, many officials quietly acknowledge that peaceful solutions alone may not be enough to end the crisis. Inside the aircraft, exhaustion becomes one of the hostages' greatest challenges. Sleep is difficult under constant surveillance, and the uncertainty surrounding their future weighs heavily on everyone. Some passengers try to maintain normal routines to hold on to a sense of stability, while others spend time quietly talking with fellow captives, sharing stories about their families and lives back home. These conversations help people cope with fear and remind them of what they're fighting to return to. Despite the difficult circumstances, many passengers refuse to lose hope, and their resilience becomes a source of strength for those around them. The terrorists continue maintaining strict control over the cabin. They remain alert and organized, determined to prevent any resistance from taking hold among the hostages. Armed guards monitor movement carefully, while the leaders communicate with outside contacts about their demands. The hijackers understand that authorities are likely preparing responses behind the scenes, and they remain suspicious of any unexpected activity or vigilance that complicates rescue planning. Any operation would need to overcome not only physical obstacles but also the terrorists' readiness to react quickly, and military analysts studying the situation recognize that surprise may be the most important factor in achieving success. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies make significant progress in understanding the terrorist organization behind the hijacking. Information gathered from various sources reveals details about its leadership, structure, and previous activities, and analysts compare reports to identify patterns that help predict future behavior. Every new discovery adds to a clearer picture of the threat. To understanding an adversary is often the first step toward defeating them. The information collected doesn't resolve the crisis immediately, but it offers valuable insight that may shape future decisions. Knowledge becomes a powerful weapon in the struggle unfolding behind the scenes. At military facilities, the elite rescue unit continues preparing with remarkable precision. Operators take part in rehearsals designed to simulate conditions they may encounter during a real mission. Aircraft layouts are studied repeatedly, entry procedures are practiced, and communication systems are tested under various scenarios. Every movement is analyzed and refined, with the goal of eliminating uncertainty wherever possible. No simulation can perfectly replicate reality, but extensive preparation improves the odds of success, and the operators understand this well. Their professionalism reflects years of training and experience in some of the world's most demanding environments. As discussions continue among government officials, opinions on the best course of action remain divided. Some leaders believe negotiations should continue as long as possible in hopes of securing the hostages' peaceful release, while others worry that delays will only strengthen the terrorists' position. The debate reflects the complexity of the situation. Every option carries risk, and no outcome can be guaranteed. The responsibility of making such decisions weighs heavily on those involved. Lives hang in the balance, and the consequences of failure would be devastating. The pressure is immense, yet decisions still have to be made. The hostages face another difficult challenge when the terrorists begin separating certain groups of passengers for questioning and identification. The process raises anxiety throughout the aircraft, and nobody knows what criteria the hijackers are using or what consequences might follow. Families worry about being separated, while individuals fear becoming targets for special attention, and the uncertainty adds even more emotional strain. Nevertheless, many passengers continue supporting one another whenever they can, and their ability to hold on to compassion under such difficult circumstances shows remarkable strength. Small acts of solidarity become powerful reminders that fear hasn't fully overcome their humanity. Elsewhere, military planners receive updated intelligence suggesting that circumstances may soon create opportunities for intervention. The information is carefully analyzed and weighed against existing operational plans, with potential entry points, timing, and environmental factors all reviewed in detail. The possibility of action starts to feel increasingly real, and operators within the rescue unit sense the shift as briefings become more focused and preparations more specific. Official orders haven't been issued yet, but everyone understands events are moving toward a decisive phase. The waiting period may soon come to an end. As the crisis evolves, the terrorists themselves begin feeling the pressure. Maintaining control over dozens of hostages for an extended period is physically and emotionally demanding. Fatigue affects concentration, and prolonged tension creates opportunities for mistakes. Some members of the group appear more confident than others, and observers studying the available intelligence notice subtle signs of stress within the organization. These weaknesses remain limited, but their important. Successful operations often depend on identifying and exploiting the moments when an opponent is least prepared. Military planners pay close attention to any sign that the terrorists' effectiveness may be declining. The elite rescue force receives additional briefings about the hostages. Photographs, passenger manifests, and intelligence summaries help the operators understand exactly who they may be called on to protect, and these details reinforce the human dimension of the mission. The hostages aren't simply numbers in a report to their families, workers, students, and travelers whose lives have been upended by violence. Recognizing this strengthens the operator's sense of purpose, and every member of the unit understands why the mission matters. Their commitment goes beyond professional duty. It's rooted in the desire to save innocent lives. Back aboard the aircraft, moments of tension alternate with long stretches of anxious waiting. Hostages carefully watch their captors, searching for clues about what might happen next, and some begin noticing differences in the personalities and behavior of individual terrorists. Certain guards appear more disciplined, while others seem increasingly tired or distracted. These observations offer little immediate comfort, but they point to an important truth. The hijackers are human beings, subject to the same pressures and limits as anyone else, and recognizing those limits may prove valuable later. Government officials continue balancing diplomatic efforts with military readiness. Communication channels remain open, and negotiators work tirelessly to make progress, while military assets are positioned and prepared in case peaceful efforts fail. This dual-track approach reflects the seriousness of the crisis. Leaders help for a solution that avoids violence, but they also recognize the need to prepare for less favorable outcomes, so flexibility becomes essential, since circumstances can change rapidly and response options need to stay available. As night falls once again, uncertainty dominates the situation. The hostages remain captive, the terrorists remain defiant, and governments continue searching for answers. Yet beneath the surface, important developments are taking shape. Intelligence is improving, plans are becoming more refined, and elite operators stand ready to act if necessary. The balance of the crisis hasn't shifted yet, but signs suggest change may be approaching. Momentum is slowly building behind the scenes, even if the passengers trapped aboard the aircraft can't yet see it. The long ordeal has tested everyone involved in different ways. Hostages have shown resilience. Families have endured painful uncertainty. Military personnel have shown patience and discipline. Government leaders have faced difficult decisions under intense scrutiny. Each group contributes to the unfolding story in its own way, and although the outcome remains uncertain, one fact grows increasingly clear: the crisis is moving toward a defining moment. The actions taken in the coming days will determine whether the hostages return home safely or the situation descends into even greater danger. The crisis enters an even more dangerous phase as international efforts to resolve the hijacking continue. Governments remain under immense pressure, intelligence agencies work without pause, and military planners refine every aspect of their preparations. Around the world, millions follow the story, hoping for a peaceful resolution. Yet behind closed doors, many officials are becoming increasingly convinced that negotiations alone may not be enough to end the crisis. The terrorists remain determined, their demands stay uncompromising, and the hostages continue living under constant threat. The situation grows more urgent by the day. Inside the aircraft, conditions continue to deteriorate. Fatigue has become a constant companion for passengers and crew alike, and the emotional strain affects everyone differently, as some remain surprisingly calm, while others struggle with anxiety and uncertainty. Parents do everything they can to comfort frightened children, and friends encourage one another to stay hopeful. Flight attendants continue to show professionalism despite the circumstances, and their efforts help maintain a sense of order in an environment dominated by fear. These acts of courage often go unnoticed, yet they play a crucial role in helping people endure an ordeal that seems to have no clear end. The terrorists remain alert, but signs of exhaustion are becoming more noticeable. Long hours of maintaining control over dozens of hostages place significant pressure on the group. Guards rotate responsibilities, leaders hold frequent discussions, and tension occasionally surfaces among the members. While the hijackers still appear dangerous and disciplined, intelligence analysts studying their behavior pick up on small indicators of stress. These observations may seem minor, but in high-risk situations, even small weaknesses can create opportunities, and understanding those vulnerabilities becomes a major focus for authorities planning a potential intervention. Far from the aircraft, members of the elite rescue force continue training relentlessly. Detailed models and simulations recreate possible mission scenarios, and operators practice movements repeatedly until every action becomes instinctive. Communication drills, entry procedures, and hostage protection strategies are refined with extraordinary precision. The unit's leaders understand that success will depend on speed, coordination, and discipline, and there will be little room for hesitation if the mission proceeds. Every operator accepts this reality. Years of preparation have conditioned them to perform under pressure, and now those skills may soon face their greatest test. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies gather additional information about the terrorists' external support network. Investigators identify individuals, locations, and communication channels connected to the organization, and the growing body of intelligence offers valuable insight into how the operation was planned and carried out. Understanding these connections helps authorities anticipate possible future actions and strengthens confidence that a more complete picture of the threat is emerging. Every discovery adds to the overall effort, and while much of this work stays invisible to the public, it plays a vital role in shaping future decisions. The hostages experience a mixture of hope and despair as rumors spread throughout the aircraft. Some believe negotiations may lead to their release, while others fear the situation could grow even more dangerous. Without reliable information, speculation spreads quickly, and the uncertainty becomes one of the hardest parts of captivity. People desperately want answers, yet answers remain scarce. Despite these challenges, many passengers continue supporting one another emotionally, and their resilience reflects the strength of the human spirit. Even in circumstances designed to create fear and helplessness, people find ways to encourage one another. Military commanders receive updated intelligence suggesting operational opportunities may be developing. The information is reviewed carefully and compared against existing plans, and strategic discussions intensify as leaders weigh possible courses of action. Timing becomes a critical consideration. Acting too soon could jeopardize the hostages, while waiting too long could let circumstances grow even more dangerous. Balancing patience against decisive action is difficult, and every factor has to be weighed, since the stakes are simply too high for mistakes. Among the members of the rescue unit, anticipation keeps growing. Although they remain focused and professional, they understand that events are moving closer to a critical point. Equipment is inspected repeatedly, transportation arrangements are finalized, and mission briefings become increasingly detailed. Operators spend hours studying intelligence reports and discussing potential challenges, and their preparation reflects a commitment to excellence built through years of demanding training. Each person understands the responsibility involved. Either innocent lives may soon depend on their ability to perform under extraordinary pressure. The terrorists, meanwhile, continue trying to maintain control over both the hostages and the broader narrative surrounding the crisis. They issue additional statements and try to sway international opinion through publicity, and their leaders understand that perception can matter as much as force. But sustaining this effort takes energy and coordination, and as time passes, the strain of managing both operational and political objectives becomes more apparent. The organization remains dangerous, but it's also facing growing challenges, with pressure from multiple directions beginning to affect its effectiveness. Inside the command centers, analysts work tirelessly to turn intelligence into actionable plans. Maps are updated, timelines revised, and contingency options expanded, and every possible scenario receives careful consideration. Of the complexity of the crisis demands thorough preparation. Rescue operations involving hostages are among the most difficult missions military forces can undertake, and success requires far more than courage alone. It depends on accurate intelligence, meticulous planning, and flawless coordination, and the professionals involved understand these requirements completely, their efforts reflecting years of experience dealing with high-risk situations. The hostages continue showing remarkable determination despite their circumstances. Some emerge as sources of strength for those around them, offering encouragement and helping maintain morale, while others focus on staying calm and observant, carefully noting details about their surroundings and captors. These behaviors may seem small, but they reflect extraordinary resiliency. Preserving hope under such conditions is a powerful achievement, and every day endured is a testament to their courage. Their refusal to give in emotionally becomes one of the defining aspects of the crisis. As another day passes, communication between various governments becomes increasingly important. International cooperation allows intelligence to be shared more effectively and helps coordinate responses, and diplomatic discussions continue alongside military preparations. The complexity of the crisis requires collaboration across multiple organizations and countries, and although political interests may differ, the shared desire to protect innocent lives creates common ground. This cooperation strengthens the overall effort to resolve the situation and builds confidence that progress is being made behind the scenes. The rescue force receives new instructions indicating that readiness levels should be increased. This doesn't guarantee immediate action, but it marks a significant development, and the operators respond by completing final preparations and reviewing mission procedures once more. Every detail gets careful attention, and the atmosphere within the unit becomes even more focused. The possibility of deployment now feels closer than ever. Years of training have prepared these professionals for moments like this, and they stand ready to respond whenever called upon. Night falls once again over a crisis that has already lasted far too long. The hostages remain captive, the terrorists remain armed, and uncertainty continues to dominate the situation. Yet important changes are occurring beneath the surface. EU intelligence has improved dramatically. Operational plans have matured, and the rescue forces are closer to action than ever before. The balance of the crisis is slowly shifting. Although the passengers can't yet see it, powerful efforts are converging toward a moment that may determine the fate of everyone involved. The long period of waiting is beginning to give way to something far more decisive. The hostage crisis reaches a critical stage as tensions rise across every level of the operation. Government officials, intelligence agencies, military commanders, and negotiators all understand that time is becoming increasingly important. The terrorists remain in control of their hostages, but the situation is no longer unfolding entirely according to their plan. Behind the scenes, authorities have gathered substantial intelligence about the organization, its members, and its methods, and what once seemed like an unpredictable crisis is gradually becoming easier to understand. With each new piece of information, decision-makers gain greater confidence in their ability to respond effectively. Inside the aircraft, the hostages continue enduring difficult conditions. Days of captivity have left many people physically exhausted and emotionally drained. Yet despite these hardships, the passengers show remarkable resilience. Some spend time encouraging those who appear most frightened, while others focus on maintaining routines that help preserve a sense of normalcy. Even simple conversations become valuable sources of comfort. Human connection proves surprisingly powerful in an environment designed to create fear and isolation. The terrorists may control the aircraft, but they can't fully control the spirit of the people they're holding captive. The crew members also continue demonstrating exceptional professionalism. Pilots, flight attendants, and support personnel stay focused on protecting passengers whenever opportunities arise, and their calm behavior helps prevent panic while providing reassurance during moments of uncertainty. Many hostages draw strength from watching the crew's composure. Although the crew faces the same dangers as everyone else, they continue performing their duties with courage and determination. Their efforts often go unnoticed by the outside world, but they play an essential role in helping people endure crisis. Meanwhile, intelligence analysts uncover additional information that significantly improves operational planning. Detailed reports offer new insight into the terrorists' routines, communication methods, and security procedures, and every discovery helps reduce uncertainty. Military planners carefully fold this information into existing strategies, refining mission concepts and identifying potential advantages. The process reflects a core principle of high-risk situations. Successful operations rarely depend on luck. They depend on understanding the environment better than the adversary does, and authorities are working tirelessly to achieve exactly that. Within the elite rescue force, preparations become even more focused. Operators take part in final rehearsals while reviewing mission objectives and responsibilities, and every member of the unit understands the significance of what may lie ahead. Hostage rescue missions are among the most challenging operations any military force can undertake. Their success requires precision, speed, and flawless coordination under intense pressure. The operators train repeatedly to make every action instinctive, and their confidence is rooted not in arrogance but in preparation. Years of demanding training have prepared them for moments exactly like this. The terrorists continue trying to strengthen their position through negotiations and public statements. But maintaining control over such a complex situation grows increasingly difficult. Fatigue affects decision-making, and prolonged stress puts pressure on every member of the organization. Small disagreements occasionally emerge among the hijackers, and while these conflicts remain limited, they reveal an important reality. No group can operate under extreme pressure indefinitely without experiencing strain. Intelligence specialists monitoring the situation see these developments as potentially significant. Weaknesses that seem minor today may become important tomorrow. As discussions continue among political and military leaders, the possibility of direct intervention becomes increasingly likely. Officials carefully weigh risks and potential outcomes, with the primary objective remaining the protection of their hostages. Every proposed action is judged by its ability to maximize civilian safety while neutralizing the threat, and the responsibility carried by decision-makers is enormous. Lives depend on their judgment. Despite the pressure, they remain committed to finding the most effective solution possible, and growing confidence in the available intelligence strengthens the belief that meaningful action may soon be achievable. The hostages become aware that something may be changing. They lack specific information, but subtle shifts in the terrorists' behavior suggest that outside pressure is increasing. Guards appear more alert, discussions among the hijackers grow more frequent, and overall tension within the aircraft rises noticeably. Passengers watch these changes carefully, many wondering whether negotiations are progressing or authorities are preparing some form of intervention. The uncertainty remains difficult, but the possibility of change offers a small measure of hope. And for people who've spent days trapped in fear, hope is an invaluable resource. Far away from the aircraft, transportation assets and support personnel are placed on standby. The extensive logistics required for a potential rescue mission begin moving into position. Pilots, intelligence officers, communication specialists, and countless other professionals prepare to support any operation that may be ordered, and the scale of coordination involved is enormous. While public attention focuses mainly on the hostages and terrorists, a vast network of people works behind the scenes to make success possible. Their contributions may not make headlines, but they're essential to the overall effort. The rescue force receives additional updates about the hostages and the environment where they're being held. Operators study photographs, maps, and intelligence reports with intense concentration. Every detail could prove important later. They discuss possible complications and review contingency plans for unexpected situations, reflecting a fundamental principle of elite operations: flexibility. No plan survives contact with reality unchanged, and the ability to adapt quickly often determines the difference between success and failure. The operators understand this and prepare accordingly. As another day passes, pressure on the terrorists continues mounting. International attention remains intense, intelligence efforts keep expanding, and authorities appear increasingly prepared to act. The hijackers still hold control of the hostages, but their freedom of action grows more limited. They're now operating under constant scrutiny from organizations determined to stop them. This reality adds stress within the group, and the longer the crisis continues, the harder maintaining control becomes. Time, which once seemed to favor the terrorists, may gradually be turning against them. Inside the command centers, discussions increasingly focus on execution rather than preparation. Plans that once existed only as possibilities now receive detailed consideration as practical options. Leaders review objectives, evaluate resources, and discuss timing. And although no final decision has been announced, momentum is clearly building toward a decisive phase. The atmosphere reflects a growing belief that the crisis cannot continue indefinitely. Eventually, a resolution must be reached, and the only remaining question is how it will happen. The hostages continue showing extraordinary endurance. Despite exhaustion, uncertainty, and fear, they refuse to give up hope completely, and their determination inspires everyone working on their behalf. Negotiators, intelligence analysts, military personnel, and government officials all remain focused on the same goal: bringing these innocent people home safely. That shared commitment unites individuals from different organizations and backgrounds, serving as a reminder that the crisis is ultimately about protecting human lives rather than achieving political objectives. As darkness falls once more, the situation feels closer than ever to a turning point. Preparations have advanced significantly, intelligence has improved, and rescue forces stand ready. The terrorists remain dangerous, but their position is no longer as secure as it once appeared. Powerful forces are gathering beyond their view, and the balance of the crisis is beginning to shift. The long period of uncertainty is approaching its end, and events are moving steadily toward a confrontation that could determine the fate of everyone involved. The crisis finally reaches its decisive phase as all the separate threads of preparation, intelligence, and planning converge into action. After days of tension, uncertainty, and mounting pressure, the situation can no longer hold in balance. The terrorists still control the hostages inside the aircraft, but their dominance has been steadily worn down by careful coordination taking place far beyond their view. Governments, intelligence agencies, and elite military units are now fully aligned around their objective, and every available resource has been positioned with precision. The moment everyone has been preparing for is no longer distant, it's now. Inside the aircraft, the hostages sense a change in atmosphere even without knowing what's happening outside. The terrorists appear more tense than before, moving with urgency and exchanging frequent communications. Their confidence, once steady and absolute, now shows subtle signs of strain. Passengers notice these changes and feel a mixture of fear and cautious hope. No one knows what will happen next, but many sense that something significant is approaching. After enduring prolonged captivity, even the smallest sign of change feels powerful, and hope begins to rise again, carefully and quietly, in the hearts of those who have suffered the most. Far from the aircraft, elite rescue forces finalize their readiness. Every operator is in position, equipment checked, communication channels secured, and timing synchronized. The mission is no longer theoretical, it has become real, immediate, and unavoidable. These soldiers have trained for moments like this throughout their careers, but training can never fully replicate reality, and the responsibility they carry is immense. Innocent lives depend on precision and discipline under extreme pressure. Despite the weight of the situation, their focus remains absolute, and each member understands their role and trusts the person beside them completely. As coordinated operations begin, attention shifts across multiple locations simultaneously. Intelligence units track enemy movements while support teams manage communication and logistics. Every second matters, and small actions are carried out with careful timing to create maximum effect without alerting the terrorists prematurely. The complexity of the operation demands flawless synchronization between different groups working in separate environments, reflecting years of preparation and experience. Nothing is random, every step is deliberate, calculated, and controlled. The goal isn't just to confront the terrorists but to do so in a way that protects the hostages above all else. Inside the aircraft, tension escalates rapidly as the terrorists realize their control is being challenged. Confusion spreads through their ranks as communication grows more difficult and external pressure increases. Their attempts to maintain order become more aggressive but also less effective, and the structure that once supported their authority begins to weaken under stress. The hostages, though still in danger, start to notice that the balance is no longer as one-sided as before. Fear remains present, but it's now accompanied by a growing awareness that rescue may be possibly, and that awareness changes everything. The elite rescue force moves with precision as the operation shifts from preparation into execution. Every moment is guided by training, discipline, and real-time intelligence, and there's no room for hesitation. The environment is unpredictable, and conditions inside the aircraft remain extremely dangerous. Yet the operators press forward with complete focus. Their objective is clear: neutralize the threat and secure hostages as quickly and safely as possible. Years of preparation now come down to a matter of seconds and decisions made under pressure. As the confrontation unfolds, the terrorists struggle to hold their position. Their expectations of total control collapse under the speed and coordination of the response against them. Panic replaces confidence, orders grow inconsistent, and communication breaks down. The situation they once controlled so firmly is now slipping beyond their grasp. In contrast, the rescue forces operate with structure and clarity, adapting to conditions while maintaining discipline, and the contrast between the two sides becomes increasingly clear. Inside the aircraft, the hostages experience a wave of confusion and fear as sudden movements and escalating tension fill the cabin. For many, this moment feels like the most terrifying, yet they can't see the full scope of what's happening. Only fragments of chaos and uncertainty. Yet even amid the danger, there's a growing sense that rescue may be underway, bringing both hope and fear. Hope for survival, and fear of what might come in the final moments of the confrontation. The operation intensifies as multiple coordinated actions unfold almost simultaneously. The terrorists try to respond, but their ability to react effectively has been severely disrupted, and the advantage they once held through control and intimidation is now being neutralized by precision and preparation. The environment grows extremely volatile, with every second carrying significant risk. Yet the rescue forces never lose focus. Protecting innocent lives remains the top priority at every stage. Gradually, the situation shifts decisively. The terrorists lose control of key positions, communication breaks down further, and their ability to coordinate collapses under pressure. What once seemed like an unbreakable hijacking operation is now unraveling rapidly. The rescue forces maintain strict discipline throughout the engagement, ensuring every action moves towards securing the hostages and ending the threat. The turning point has arrived, and there's no reversal from here. As the final moments of the confrontation unfold, the remaining resistance from the terrorists is overwhelmed by coordinated action, and the structure of their operation disintegrates completely. Control of the aircraft is reclaimed step by step, and the immediate danger to the hostages is brought under control. Exhaustion, shock, and relief begin to replace fear as the reality of the situation sets in. The crisis that once seemed overwhelming is now reaching its conclusion. With the threat neutralized and the hostages secured, focus shifts to safety, medical assistance, and stabilization. Rescue personnel move quickly to make sure every passenger receives attention and care. The emotional impact of the experience is profound. Many struggle to process what has just happened after days of fear and uncertainty. Yet alongside the trauma there's overwhelming relief. The nightmare is finally ending. Outside the aircraft, confirmation of success spreads quickly through command centers and government agencies. Years of preparation, intelligence work, and operational planning have culminated in a result that saves lives. The mission stands as a demonstration of coordination, discipline, and courage under extreme conditions, and everyone involved contributed to the outcome in their own way, from those who gathered intelligence to those who carried out the final operation. As the situation fully stabilizes, attention turns to recovery and reflection. The hostages are safe, the terrorists are no longer in control, and the immediate danger has passed. What remains is the impact of the experience, and the long process of healing. Our lives have been changed forever, but they've also been preserved. The operation has achieved its primary objective, saving innocent lives from a situation that once seemed impossible to resolve. In the aftermath, the story becomes a reminder of resilience, sacrifice, and coordination in the face of extreme danger. It highlights the courage of those who endured captivity, the dedication of those who planned and carried out the rescue, and the importance of unity in confronting threats to innocent lives. The crisis ends not with chaos, but with resolution, a hard one, costly, and ultimately life-saving. The mission is complete, and silence finally replaces the long period of fear. The aftermath brings a deep sense of relief mixed with exhaustion. As the situation fully stabilizes, the hijacked aircraft is secured, the immediate threat has been eliminated, and the hostages are finally under safer protection. Yet the emotional weight of what has just happened lingers heavily in the air. Many survivors sit in silence, struggling to process the events of the past few days. Some are in shock, others overwhelmed with relief, and many simply remain quiet, unable to find words for what they've endured. The danger has passed, but its impact won't disappear quickly. Medical teams and emergency responders quickly move in to assist the rescued passengers. Each person is checked for injuries, dehydration, and exhaustion, and although most have survived without serious physical harm, the psychological toll is evident. Doctors and support staff work carefully, offering reassurance and immediate care where needed. The priority isn't just survival but recovery, and survivors are guided gently through each step, given food, water, and a safe environment away from the chaos they've just escaped. The transition from captivity to safety is handled with great care and sensitivity. Outside the secured area, military personnel and rescue operators begin the process of debriefing and coordination. Detailed reports are collected to understand every stage of the operation, with every decision, movement, and moment reviewed carefully, not for criticism, but for learning and accountability. The complexity of the operation demands that every detail be analyzed so future missions can be improved. The professionalism displayed by the rescue force is widely recognized, and their discipline under extreme pressure directly contributed to saving lives. Intelligence agencies continue investigating the terrorist organization responsible for the hijacking. Survivors' accounts, recovered materials, and operational evidence are all examined to build a complete picture of how the attack was planned and carried out. Authorities work to identify remaining members of the network and prevent future threats, and the investigation extends beyond the immediate incident into broader connections and support systems. The goal isn't only justice for what happened but also prevention of similar events in the future. Every detail becomes part of a larger effort to ensure security and accountability. Among the survivors, emotional recovery begins slowly. Families are reunited, and these moments bring overwhelming emotional tears, silence, and embraces replace the fear that dominated their earlier experience. For many, simply seeing loved ones again feels unreal after such a prolonged ordeal. The psychological impact varies from person to person. Some speak about their experience right away, while others stay quiet, needing time to process everything internally. Support teams remain present throughout, offering counseling and assistance, since healing is understood to be a long-term process rather than something that happens instantly. The elite rescue force also reflects on the mission with quiet professionalism. There's no celebration in the traditional sense, only an acknowledgement of duty fulfilled. Every member understands the seriousness of what they've just been through. A training, discipline, and coordination allowed them to succeed under extremely dangerous conditions, yet they also recognize the human cost behind the mission. The focus stays on those who were saved, not on personal achievement, and although their work is complete, the memory of the operation will stay with them for a long time. Government officials publicly confirm the success of the operation, expressing relief that the hostages have been rescued safely. Statements emphasize the coordination between intelligence agencies, military units, and international partners. Political discussions will continue in the aftermath, but the immediate focus remains on recovery and security. The operation is viewed as a significant achievement in counter-terrorism efforts, demonstrating the importance of preparation, intelligence, and decisive action when lives are at risk. As time passes, the survivors begin their journey back to normal life. Some will struggle with memories of fear and uncertainty, while others will eventually find ways to move forward with strength gained from survival. The experience leaves a permanent mark, but it also reveals the resilience of the human spirit. People who were once trapped in a situation beyond their control now carry forward the knowledge that they endured something extraordinary and survived it together. For the world watching from afar, the incident becomes a reminder of both danger and hope. It shows how fragile security can be, but also how effective cooperation and determination can overcome even the most severe crisis. The story of the hijacking and rescue stands as an example of courage under pressure, not just from trained professionals, but from ordinary individuals placed in extraordinary circumstances. In the final reflection, the crisis is no longer defined by fear but by survival and resolution. Lives were threatened, but they were also saved through coordination, discipline, and unwavering commitment. The memory of the event will remain, but it will be carried forward not as a symbol of defeat but as a testament to resilience and the determination to protect human life. The story concludes with peace restored, lives preserved, and hope slowly returning after a period of extreme darkness. In the days following the rescue operation, life gradually begins to settle into a new rhythm. The immediate chaos has ended, but the emotional echoes of the crisis continue to linger. Survivors are transported safely to their home countries, where families and loved ones await their return. Airports that once symbolized fear now become places of reunion and relief, and emotions overflow as people who were separated by tragedy are finally brought back together. The intensity of these moments reflects just how close the situation came to ending differently. Recovery centers are set up to support those affected by the hijacking. Specialists in trauma care work closely with survivors, helping them process what they experienced. Many struggle with sleep, memory, and emotional stability in the aftermath, and counselors emphasize patience and understanding, reminding everyone that healing takes time. Some survivors choose to speak openly about their experience, while others stay silent for a while longer. Both responses are respected. The focus remains on rebuilding confidence and restoring a sense of normal life. For the rescue personnel, the mission becomes a defining moment in their careers. Although they avoid public attention, their actions are widely recognized by governments and military leadership. Detailed internal reviews highlight the precision, coordination, and discipline required to carry out such a complex operation successfully, and every phase of the mission is analyzed carefully not only to evaluate performance but to improve future readiness. The lessons learned from this operation will shape training and planning for years to come. Experience gained under such extreme conditions is invaluable. Intelligence agencies continue working behind the scenes to fully dismantle the network responsible for the hijacking. Investigations expand across multiple regions as authorities trace connections, funding sources, and communication channels. Arrests are made in different locations, and additional evidence is gathered to make sure the organization can't easily regroup. The process is slow and methodical, requiring cooperation between several countries, and each discovery strengthens the effort to prevent similar attacks in the future. Security protocols in aviation and public transport systems are also reviewed and updated. Within the broader public, the incident sparks widespread discussion about safety, preparedness, and global cooperation. News coverage, analysis, and expert commentary dominate media channels. And while the details of the operation are debated, one fact remains widely acknowledged: the lives of the hostages were saved through coordinated action and decisive intervention. The event becomes a case study in crisis response, highlighting both the dangers of terrorism and the effectiveness of trained rescue forces when properly deployed. The hostages themselves slowly begin rebuilding their lives. Some return to work, others reunite with family, and many take time away from public life to recover emotionally. The shared experience of captivity creates a bond between survivors, even as they go on to live very different lives afterward, and occasional reunions and support gatherings allow them to stay connected and support one another through recovery. The memories of fear remain, but they're gradually balanced by gratitude for survival. The elite rescue unit also returns to base operations, resuming training and preparation for future missions. Although they rarely discuss specific details publicly, the experience becomes part of their internal knowledge and professional growth. The operation reinforces the importance of discipline, teamwork, and adaptability in high-risk environments, and each member understands that success depended not on individual heroics but on the seamless coordination of the entire unit working as one. That understanding strengthens their identity as a team. Political leaders reflect on the crisis with a focus on both success and responsibility. While the outcome is considered a major achievement in saving lives, officials also emphasize the importance of preventing similar situations in the future. Discussions are held on aviation security, intelligence sharing, and international cooperation, and the incident becomes a turning point in how such threats are addressed. Lessons learned from the event are folded into policy changes designed to strengthen global preparedness. Over time, public attention begins to shift away from the incident, but its impact remains deeply embedded in those directly affected. Survivors continue their recovery journeys, families remain grateful for their reunions, and the professionals involved carry the experience as part of their lives. The emotional weight of what happened doesn't disappear quickly, but it slowly transforms into something more stable and manageable. Life continues forward as it always does, even after moments of extreme disruption. For many, the story becomes more than just a report of a hijacking and rescue. It becomes a reminder of human vulnerability, resilience, and cooperation under pressure. It shows how quickly ordinary circumstances can change, and how important preparation and unity become in moments of crisis. It also demonstrates that even in situations dominated by fear, coordinated effort and courage can lead to survival and resolution. In the final reflection, the events leave behind a legacy shaped by both hardship and hope. The crisis tested everyone involved, from passengers and crew to military forces and decision-makers. Yet through that test, lives were saved, systems were strengthened, and lessons were learned. The memory of fear remains, but it's no longer the defining element. What remains stronger is the proof that even in the darkest moments, coordinated human effort can restore safety and bring people home again. The story ultimately stands as a record of survival, recovery, and the enduring strength of unity in the face of extreme danger. The final phase of the crisis leaves a deep silence over everything that follows. What began as a sudden act of terror has now transformed into a full-scale international rescue success. But the cost in fear, trauma, and tension remains etched into everyone involved. The aircraft, once a symbol of helpless captivity, now stands secured under the full control of rescue forces. The terrorists have been neutralized, the hostages are safe, and the immediate danger has finally come to an end. Yet in the aftermath, nothing feels simply. The world has changed for those who lived through it. Inside the aircraft, the first moments of true safety feel unreal to the survivors. Many passengers remain frozen in place, unable to fully accept that the danger is gone. The sudden absence of guns, shouting, and constant fear creates a strange emptiness. Some people cry silently, others sit motionless, and a few begin to shake as the pressure that held them together for so long finally breaks. When rescue personnel gently guide them out, every step feels uncertain, as if reality itself hasn't fully caught up yet. The transition from captivity to freedom isn't instant relief, it's a slow emotional collapse, followed by a gradual awareness that survival is real. Outside, the arrival of emergency teams transforms the environment into a controlled humanitarian response. Medical units move quickly, checking every survivor for injuries, dehydration, exhaustion, and shock. Even those who appear physically unharmed are carefully assessed. Psychological support teams begin immediate assistance, speaking calmly to passengers struggling to process what they've endured. Stretchers, ambulances, and support vehicles form a coordinated system designed not just for treatment but for stabilization. Every person is treated as someone who has been through an extreme traumatic experience here because that's exactly what has happened. As survivors are transported away, the emotional weight of reunions begins to unfold. Families who have been waiting in uncertainty finally see their loved ones again, and the reactions are overwhelming. Embraces that last too long, tears that can't be controlled, and silence that says more than words ever could. Some people collapse into the arms of their families, while others struggle even to speak. The joy of survival mixes with disbelief that it ever reached this point, and for many families, this moment becomes one they'll never forget for the rest of their lives. The elite rescue force, having completed their mission, begins withdrawing from the operation area in a disciplined and silent manner. There's no celebration, no display of victory, only the quiet satisfaction of a mission completed under extreme conditions. Every operator understands what has been achieved, but also what it cost emotionally. They move with the same precision they used during the operation, now focused on accountability, debriefing, and return procedures. Their success is measured not in recognition, but in the fact that every innocent life they were tasked to save has been protected. In the command centers, officials review the entire operation in detail, every phase, from intelligence gathering and coordination to timing, execution, and outcome. Reports confirm that the mission succeeded in preventing a potentially catastrophic outcome. The structure of the terrorist organization involved in the hijacking is also now under heavy investigation, with multiple international agencies working together to dismantle its remaining connections. The event becomes a priority case for counter-terrorism efforts, shaping future policy discussions and operational strategies across multiple countries. At the same time, global media coverage continues to highlight the scale of what has taken place. News outlets replay key moments, analysts discuss the operation's success, and experts evaluate how the crisis was handled. Interpretations vary, but the central truth remains consistent: the situation was resolved through coordinated action, and innocent lives were saved from extreme danger. Over time, the story shifts from breaking news to historical record, but its impact remains deeply felt by those directly involved. For the survivors, recovery begins as a long and personal journey. Some try to return to normal life quickly, while others need extended time away from familiar routines. Sleep becomes difficult for many, and memories of the hijacking return unexpectedly in quiet moments.